Hey, it's Mazzy and welcome back. This is the second of the series of Record Store Day 2025 previews. Every morning of this week, I think, there'll be a preview of a Record Store Day release or a series of releases. At the end of the week, there'll be a larger batch with my picks of things that I'm going to look out for that I didn't get up front. These are promotional records I've got. I'm telling you that to be transparent. But first of all, I need to thank Sean and Yoko for this package. It arrived this morning from the UK. Now, warning, those of you who just can't handle politics and music, and to me, all music is political of one sort, one way or another. This is music from 1972, probably John Lennon's most political year. You remember this? I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but I'm going to showcase and start out with this EP, Power to the People. This is an EP for Record Store Day, coming out of the whole 1972 life of John and Yoko and the Plastic Ono Band and the Elephant Memory Band, and that intense year with all those left-wing political people on the Lower East Side and New York City and Washington Square, and Abby Hoffman and David Peel and Mike Douglas and Chuck Berry and all the for the first time on the Mike Douglas Show. But I'm going to talk about this. This is what this video is centered around. And this is Power to the People, John and Yoko, Plastic Ono Band, with the Elephant's Memory and special guests, live at the One-to-One concert in New York City, 1972. There's a film coming out. There's going to be a larger box set later in the year. We can only guess what that's going to be. I'm going to guess, show you some of my beliefs, some of my wish list, how I would love it. It's all done, I'm sure, by now. Of course it is. But I want to thank the estate, Simon and Sean and Yoko, for sending me this. You've probably seen these on several other YouTube channels. First of all, there's a blank white envelope with this sticker. Same sticker that says, "You are John Lennon. You are dreaming. It's only a dream." How cool is that? I love little ephemera and little things like that, so I appreciate that. Now, both on the package of the outer envelope has this replica sticker from Manny's, the guitar store, infamous guitar store that was in New York City. This is political music, and John and Yoko were put themselves out there to their detriment in many ways. But I want to thank them for this. Inside here is a Sean Ono note about this set. And what's interesting about this, been working on this for some time, I assume. These were hard tapes to work with, from the motion picture, the video that it's going to be from that New York Madison Square Gardens benefit concert, to the Sometime in New York tapes, I assume, and to this live show, the One-to-One show. They were a mess. They really had to work on and get deep down in the multi-tracks from those live recordings. So this talks about mixing the concert recordings were really fun, mainly because there was a lot of work to do. For whatever reason, the technical side of one-to-one concerts seemed a bit haphazard and disorganized. And anyone who's heard those recordings, and of course, the posthumous John Lennon record, this edited appearance, that was just from one of the shows. There was an evening show and a morning show in 1972. Know that, this is interesting, but the sonic quality is not quite there. And I will talk about the sound of this record, because it kind of blew me away in a way I didn't expect it to. So Sean really talks about him and Paul Hicks and the team working on this EP, which is a teaser for the upcoming set that's going to be coming out later in the year. Again, no official announcement yet about that. And this talks about the One-to-One concert in New York City with the Elephant's Memory Band. Remember, this is 1972 Vietnam protest was at its height. This is a political moment in time. I had just started college in February of 1972. I graduated early. I graduated late January 1972 from high school and right into San Francisco State University. Later that summer, I would turn 18. I would have to register for the draft. That was the year the 18-year-olds like myself finally got the vote. All summer, I worked for the George McGovern campaign. And later in that year, obviously, I registered to vote, and we know what happened in the fall. We know what happened subsequently. This is an intense time. And John and Yoko, again, put themselves out there. This live concert was a intense moment for everyone. It was really the first time that John had performed any sort of concert. He never went on tour in his solo career years, unfortunately. But I tell you, this teases it that what could have been. Now, I've never been a fan of the Elephants Memory Band. I just never liked their sound. I thought they were rough and crude. Now, I don't mind roughness. I like the sound of punk and the rawness of punk, but there was something, maybe it was the way they were recorded. And unfortunately, John and Yoko produced this. I played this today twice. First of all, embarrassing, I put it on and it sounded so gutsy and slow and meaty, and it turns out I was playing it at 33 and it's a 45 RPM EP. So I could tell once John's voice came. It was actually pretty cool then. This is kind of a yellowish vinyl cover, very heavy, very well pressed, polyline sleeves, all the stuff you like. Here's the picture on the back. It gets into the entire details of the audio restoration, all the credits of who worked on it, the executive producers, but then mix and engineers by Paul Hicks and Sam Gannon. And they literally put a lot of work in this, and it shows. When I listened to this, I opened up with Well, 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 the song obviously from the first John Lennon Plastic Ono Band album. The greatest thing about this was how meaty and intense and upfront John's voice is. It's so powerful. It's so great. It's almost like lower register that I remember it being. I don't remember it being as gutsy. There was a period around this time where sometimes he would yell when he would sing. Obviously, not talking about the Arthur Janoff Primal Therapy yelling, but sometimes his voice would be higher, and it wasn't that beautiful register that a lot of us Beatle people really liked about John Lennon's voice, especially his harmonizing, obviously, with Paul McCartney. But his vocal is beefy on Well, Well, Well and Instant Karma. Great rendition of it. And I was surprised that I actually didn't mind the Elephants Memory Band this time. For some reason, I'm not quite sure if they took out reverb or just improved it overall. It was pretty raw in a good way, really tight. Great bass, great bottom. Considering the problems they have apparently on the tapes here, this is a kick-ass record. It's a great EP. So it kind of leaves this little like tease, morsels of what could happen later in the year with the rest of that. So believe me, I would love to have a conversation with you, Sean, and about this team when whatever comes out later comes out, because this is a time of me coming of age of 17 and 18. These records, I was there, and I remember, and I had be a little bit of a defender of some of these because they were controversial, especially later in the year. Was it March, I guess, or April, when Sometime in New York came out, or was it summertime? Cold Turkey on here is great. What a great song. And of course, when John Lennon goes through his primal therapy, his primal screaming, in pain in that song, coming off, smack, and really, that putting himself out there politically, emotionally, socially. Again, I remember coming home from school, college, in February, mid-February, as fast as I could to watch John and Yoko on the Mike Douglas Show. This was the wildest thing with Abby Hoffman and Chuck Berry and all these people that he would bring on. John and Yoko chose the guests. The first time that John met Chuck Berry was on this show. And even Chuck Berry's, there's a certain, not everyone appreciates the artistic endeavors of Yoko Ono. I happen to be a fan, and I've said this many times and done many videos on that, but I could totally see the Mike Douglas audience and the world at that time not understanding bagism and the Fluxus part of it and that mix of things. But the politicalness of this week with Mike Douglas was something unbelievable. This is the old VHS copy that was, 5 days. Each one was a day. It's so humorous, but I just really remember how outrageous it was. But I was so amused and so enthralled with it at the time. Anyway, this is really well done. I look forward to it. A couple of other things. As I said, we had that live in New York City. Interesting, but not totally successful. A couple other things, too. The Pope Smokes Dope. This was on Apple Records. This is the one that was engineered. One of the engineers, 2 engineers on here, but one of them is Jack Douglas. So maybe I'm surprised that John and Yoko didn't seem to remember him. I mean, I don't know the conversations or what happened at the time, but this is an out there record. Recorded lies on the streets of the Vatican, David Peel and the Lower East Side. You know, you kind of look back and you think how gullible John and Yoko were then. They really were embracing New York City. They, wanted to live there for the rest of their lives, possibly. And John Lennon loved walking the streets and being a part of New York and that world of New York. He friggin' loved it. I think I am, it's so sad what ended up happening to him in this wonderful, great American city. I love New York City myself, spent many weeks, hours, months there over the 50-year period that I've been going there. I love it, and I love that John and Yoko loved it. And but they were kind of, in a way, taken advantage of. The whole left wing would really trying to suck John and Yoko and use them for their power, for their fame. And I think John and Yoko, especially John, probably made some bad musical artistic decisions working with the musicians he worked with. He really needed a good producer in terms of the music. He needed good bands. We know later in Mind Games, those great musicians he worked with. With that release last year of Mind Games, we know working with great musicians how it can sound. And with Sean and Paul Hicks's remixes of those, made that record sound better than ever from my point of view. It got rid of some of the dirt, some of the dust, and really solidified it. So I'm looking forward to what could maybe be an interesting version of this. Now here's my wish list. Well, first of all, 2-record set, the most overtly political record John and Yoko ever put out. His biggest failure in so many ways. But there are some great songs on this. Now, side 2, which I'm not going to really talk about much, is the Plastic Ono Band on stage with the Mothers of Invention at the Fillmore East. Now, we all know that Zappa and the Mothers put this record out. So apparently they put it out without Zappa's permission, a lot of controversy. Look at this. I mean, it's hysterical as an artistic endeavor, like, never mind, we're doing it our way and we're putting it out on our record. And apparently Zappa was pissed. So we don't need to talk about that much. And I'm sure whatever happens later in the year in this expansive set, the rumor has it 9 CDs. So there'll probably be some kind of a vinyl component. Please don't do a massive city of New York in a box that is unmanageable, hard to deal with. Please, Sean, not this time. But there's some great songs on here. Obviously political songs with Elephant Memory Bands plus the Invisible Strings. Remember the Flux Fiddlers? Which one was that on? We got Sisters Oh Sisters, a Yoko song. I actually do like the John and Yoko, the back and forth. I know some people don't, but I am a huge fan of Angela Davis. That song That was right on the remix on the Give Me Some Truth, and it was so much better than this. This is a muddy, tinny record, and Elephant's memory doesn't do John and Yoko any favors on this. So if he can fix it like he did on this live thing, I think it'd be incredible. We got Woman Is, we know that. We can't say those words now. But at the time, even black politicians and the Black Panthers supported John and Yoko's use of that. That was a concept, theme that Yoko created, and it really worked with the time. Obviously controversial. Amazing that was released as a single. I can't even imagine any radio playing it then, especially now. Everyone's so, tiptoed around everything. They can't handle all this stuff. Randy Newman would use that word in Rednecks. Ry Cooder would do a cover on his record Jazz, an old spiritual jazz song with that. So it's not unheard of, but again, when a white artist does it, it's something that you got to be careful about. You got to know where it's coming from here. But also, We're All Water, a Yoko song, great rock piece. There's a lot of great rock and roll songs on here. New York City especially is a great kind of, very much like a Chuck Berry rocker. Que Pasa, New York, Que Pasa, New York. One of the most beautiful songs on here is Luck of the Irish. I think definitely a remix could help it. And Attica State, like another great rocker. John Sinclair, Got to. That slide guitar that John plays is incredible on here. Born in a Prison, Sunday Bloody Sunday. I mean, it's jam-packed, even to the pictures of Richard Nixon and Mao Zedong. And, this is John Lennon on the Mike Douglas show here, and Angela Davis, and, very interesting illustrations and things. God damn, this is a good song-based. Now, strip back the songs. Are there demos? I would like to see this as a folk album. The acoustic guitar stuff is my favorite. And it's not just because I love the rock and roll. But again, Luck of the Irish, Attica State, John Sinclair, love that song. Now, I do happen, way back in the day, in my record store days in the mid-'70s, I got a second copy, just in case, factory sealed for your protection. I wonder who they're trying to protect here. But this is 1972, a tempestuous year in America. The anti-war movement, obviously post-civil rights, riots. 70s was an intense time and violent in the streets. And again, I remember going to the moratoriums in Golden Gate Park against the war. It was a very intense time. Again, very similar in a way what's happening today. Anyway, you can follow that thought further if you like. Now, here's what I would like. If we actually do have this giant 9 CD box set, I think it's a good idea for Sean, as the curator, to incorporate sometime in New York City and the one-to-one concerts, the live concert that the EP represents. Now, if they're using this as a branding, Power to the People, I mean, some people are saying, well, Power to the People isn't even on this EP. That's okay. If that's the feel for this year, it symbolizes 1972 from John and Yoko's point of view. Not for the single, but for the life they were going through. And of course, John trying to get his green card around this time, putting himself out there. But I would like to see this whole album remixed, including the live stuff, the entire shows. Obviously, do the elemental mixes like Sean's done on all the previous wonderful box sets he's done. I think he's done the best boxes of the Beatle families. Better than McCartney, better than Harrison, Ringo. I don't think there is an archive series for Ringo. And we love Ringo. Nothing against Ringo. But bring these together, mix it up, do some expansive. This is friggin' political. This is the time we need this. Can you imagine? Someone asked me the other day, what would John Lennon think of all the stuff going on right now? I don't know, because as you get old, a lot of people become more conservative. I don't think I have. I consider myself left of center, but the way things are going now, I'm far fucking left. But this was an important time in 1972, and it's an important time now. And I think this could be something that is an incredible box set. Don't shy away from the politics of it, because literally it's written all over this parody of the New York Times, all the news that fits, or what it says here, Ono news that's fit to print. This is an incredible record. I would like to see fold-outs of the newspaper. Remember, you know, this is an important, don't shy away. Don't whitewash it at all. Don't scale it back. Don't clean it up in terms of the content. Clean it up in terms of the audio content and the sound of this record. This could be a really good record that we could revisit. It's time for a reevaluation of John and Yoko Plastic Ono Band sometime in New York City. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, thank you, Sean, Yoko, the Lennon Estate, for sending this along. Really appreciate it. Beefy friggin' vocals, and better than I could have ever expected. It's a rocker. It's intense. Even the Don't Worry Kyoko, Mommy's Only Looking for a Hand in the Snow. I love that stuff. Thanks for watching. Record Store Day Saturday. More this week, every morning. Mazzy loves you.